Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
You guys behaving yourselves?
Good morning, everybody. Again.
President Roger?
Yes,
Do you want me to put the agenda back up, or are you ready to just call it to order?
I am ready to call it to order.
It'll be that and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely. I seen the other one that you
Got it?
sent me.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, are we ready? going to open up our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Dr. Hill if you will lead us in the pledge.
Good morning. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. And so now we're going to have item 1.3 is approval of our agenda.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. It's been moved in second. Let's vote. Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Gallo,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
and I don't believe that's it. And Gwen Rogers, aye. Thank you, motion carried. So today I'm looking, are you gonna bring up on the screen for me? We're gonna cover today what we will be covering in this meeting. And I would like, there we go. So again, welcome to our LCAP stakeholders meeting. This meeting is going to definitely require a lot of your input. So we're definitely looking forward to community input. These are the items that we will be covering, which is our state budget update. Item number 2, our local control and accountability plan review. Our goals will be goal number 1, improving academic outcomes. Again, stakeholder input. And as we move forward in the agenda, we will be asking and stopping and pausing for input. So that input on goal number 1 will be, what do you recommend to improve academic achievement? Then goal number 2 is improving school climate and culture. Again, we will require and ask input. What do you recommend to improve school environments and social emotional learning development? And then finally, goal 3, improving parent and community engagement, stakeholder input. What do you recommend to improve parent and family engagement? We will come with the next steps. And then our next upcoming board meeting is June the 15th. So again, thank you today for being with us. This will be a very robust meeting and we're looking forward to all of your input.
So
Dr.
I'll take it from here. President Rogers, thank you very much. Board, our meeting today was originally scheduled as a community meeting, but as the budget, our budget situation transpired, the board requested that this become a special board meeting. Obviously board led, given it is a board meeting. And so we have been about the business of making sure that this has been transformed into a board meeting with the specific intent of getting input from our stakeholders around our budget and /LCAP matters. So we want to thank everyone that has been invited and is participating in our audience today for being here virtually. Your investment of time in this process signals your willingness to partner with us on this very important matter. And that's critical. Your partnership is critical to our success as we work to best serve our almost 50,000 students and their families. And so I want to thank you for those of you who are in the audience and will be participating for being here. I want to thank our team as well for what they've prepared to gather your input. Gathering input since we've gone to an entirely virtual world has taken on obviously a new platform and some new challenges where we used to just kind of herd everybody into a big meeting room and be able to hear what they had to say and write down what they had to say. Obviously, as where we are today, we can't do that. It does pose some challenges, but we're trying some new things. We're actually going to try a new technology today that will give our audience participants the opportunity to not only give feedback intermittently, but certainly at the end as well in terms of any final questions you want answered, comments you want to make, and that type of thing. And so we want to continue to get your voice, our community's voice, into the ability to shape our plans. We intend to be completely, throughout this process, completely transparent. We know that that is the board's desire and expectation of us as cabinet. And so we are working very hard to be completely transparent. And before I turn it over, or actually I'm not going to turn it over to Dr. Mitchell, I'm going to pinch hit on one slide, but I just wanted to address an issue that we know has been on people's minds. It's been brought up in the past, and that's the funding of our school police department. And so I do want to share a little bit about that. First of all, over the last several years, there's been a very strong mindset shift on behalf of our school police department under the leadership of Chief Joe Polino to really reshape and re-engineer the services that are provided from school police. Obviously, they still do some general policing, but you can see in our numbers, and I'll point to just one example, and that's our citations. The number of citations that students are receiving has dramatically dropped, and our board holds us accountable for that by requiring a monthly report from Chief Polino on the number of citations that are being issued to students. So we do want, and we're happy to share that information with anybody at any time, because we're proud of the change that has been able to be accomplished. And then the second thing I wanted to share is that we know that the specific revenue source of funding our police department has been brought into question. And so I want to share with the community that we are working diligently to split fund our school police department. Our new LCAP requirement, it was going to be that we're going to have a new 3-year plan this year, or this month actually, to be approved by the board. We've been given an extension because of COVID until December, and so we'll be using that time between now and the new issuance of our plan and approval of our plan to split fund, our police department, so that the general policing activities are taken out of our base program, and then those specialized programs for students remain in supplemental and concentration. An example of that would be our Explorer program, where that's a key part of our career pathway work and complements the pathways that are happening at all of our high schools. And so we'll look at those who are involved and say that accounts for, and I'm making this up, 10%, let's say, of their daily duties. So 10% would come out of supplemental and concentration, 90% would come out of general fund or base funding, or it could be opposite. It could be 90% of a person's funding and 10% would come out of general base funding. But we are working very diligently to do that split funding for our police department. So I just wanted to, I know there have been some questions, concerns around that, and we are trying to be responsive to that in terms of supporting our police department and getting the funding put into the right categories. So I saw Janie just joined, and actually right on time. I was going to pinch hit for the state budget update, but Janie, if you're here and ready, we'll have you do that. And that would be the next slide, I believe.
Yeah, next slide, David.
So actually,
yeah.
Dr. Volker, thank you for your opening remarks. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Lorraine Perez with from Student Services Assistant Superintendent. Thank you for being here with us this morning. We really appreciate your participation and wanted to just really get things kicked off, letting everyone know that this will be a very interactive presentation today. We're going to hear from you at periodic times that Ms. Gwen Rogers described earlier. So I wanted to get us into the technology that we'll be using early. And so that way people are not struggling to figure out how to do this while we're actually wanting for you to respond. So we're going to do a little check-in this morning. This is a low stakes, give you an opportunity to get familiar with the technology. So if you will go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and you will enter the code that you see on your screen, which is 183235. That will allow you to provide some feedback to us. And the first question is a very lighthearted question. We're just trying to get a pulse of our audience. Thank you, David, for pulling that up. So you'll see we will be getting real-time information from folks as you complete the survey. So again, like I said, we wanted to start with something really lighthearted this morning just to make sure that the technology is working for everyone. So our question is, how are you feeling? ¿Cómo se siente? And everyone has an opportunity to give their input. So you see that this changes real time. As you are giving your input, you see the numbers in the dials change on the graphs. That's exactly what you will experience throughout the presentation this morning. The portions that our board members will be leading, they will ask a question, you will give your input, and you will see the dials change real time. So it looks like we have 27 people responding at this point, 29. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you see the numbers start to increase. Those are the numbers of folks who are actually responding. So wanted to just give you a brief overview of the technology that we're using this morning so you can become comfortable, see how easy it is to navigate. That way, when we get into the meat of the conversation and the more serious aspects of our conversation, you're comfortable enough with the technology and know how to use it. So with that, thank you, David, for displaying and our audience for participating. We expect to see that number 50 be a lot higher as we get into the bulk of the conversation. So at this time, thank you so much, David, for displaying for us. And I think at this point, we will turn it over to Janie for the next portion of our presentation.
Just really quickly, Lorraine, Ms. Perez, Dr. Perez,
Yes.
with the comments, will we be able to see it, or you will, as they're coming in, will let us know? How are you planning to do that?
It will be displayed just like it was right now. So all of that data will be displayed real time. We're going to be pausing and allowing for people to provide input. We'll display it on the screen so that people can see their voices being reflected in the questions.
Okay, thank you.
One other point too, Dr. Perez. We also had a survey that was sent out a few days ago that folks still have the opportunity to provide a little bit more narrative and detailed feedback. We've been collecting that for the last few days, and we plan on sharing the results to date of that feedback as well. And you will see we'll continue to collect data on both of these forms that we'll share today. And in addition to that, we also will stop periodically to allow Ms. Cunningham to read into the meeting any public comments that are coming in live. And so there's 3 ways that we provide for the folks to provide feedback that we will respond to during the meeting. So thank you for the question.
Audience, if you are curious about the survey that Dr. Mitchell just mentioned, we will be displaying that link at the very end of this presentation, because today is not the last and final day or only day that we are looking for input. The second to last slide, we will go over more opportunities for you to continue to provide feedback. Thank you.
Ms. Christakos.
Hi, I can't see I'm having technology issues. I can't see the slide.
Dr. Volker, do you mind reviewing the slide with the public?
I apologize. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
No worries, Janie. I'll pinch hit for you. So board, we wanted to give you just these are things that you've heard before, but just as a quick reminder for you and obviously the public, our state budget will be known as of June 30th. There's a slight question mark even with the state budget at this point. That's why we have the and August 15th. As you know, having to submit your taxes has been deferred from April 15th to July 15th. So the Franchise Tax Board won't really clearly know the amount of revenue that the state is going to have until early August. So while the state will pass a budget by June 30th, at least they're statutorily required to, we may get additional information, updates, and adjustments by August 15th. So that's an important date to keep in mind. the budget uncertainty remains with the possibility of severe cuts. We're certainly hoping for a state budget that will be a little more toward cash flow issues rather than cuts issues, and we will know that hopefully by early next week when the legislature and state are required to submit the budget or present the budget. But we are looking at having to do some cuts either way because of cuts that were actually planned prior to COVID that we had to make as a school district. But we're looking for that cash flow kind of approach rather than cuts approach. And that leads to the third bullet, which there is still quite a bit of revenue volatility as we respond to the COVID crisis and what it's done to our economy statewide. So we may be looking at a deferral system that would lead to number one, internal borrowing, and number two, the possibility of external borrowing, depending upon the deferral structure that the state gives us. We know, Board, that you are familiar with the whole TRAN mechanism and how we might have to go out for external borrowing. The other thing that's going to have an impact, we suspect, on the budget, and again, only time will tell, is the possibility of physically distanced schooling and what that might mean to our operations in regard to transportation. If we have to physically distance students on buses, we would only be able to put so many students on a bus, therefore may have to reshift that busing schedule. That could lead to some increased costs, as well as personal protective gear, temperature check stations, et cetera. And you'll be hearing a lot more about that on June 16th as Dr. Menarez brings her team to you about possibilities and options for reopening and what physically distant schooling may entail in terms of the budget. We're also looking at the possibility of enrollment and ADA loss if the state's budget does not include a hold harmless type of agreement for school funding. We could be facing some type of enrollment or ADA loss as people choose not to send their students to school because of health concerns, very real health concerns. Increased costs related to COVID-19, again, that really comes back to the physically distanced schooling idea and having to redesign operations within the school district. And then obviously something that's very much on our minds is mitigating learning loss and how might we have to give extra service to students to make up for anything that they might not have gotten during this response to the pandemic. So we'll know more again. Hopefully this Monday. We're keeping our fingers crossed for that cash flow approach rather than a cuts approach. But that's what we're anticipating from the state at this point. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell.
All right. Next slide, please. So thank you for that update, Dr. Volker. Just as a precursor, I wasn't able to give some comments earlier, but wanted to welcome everyone in attendance today for our LCAP community and stakeholder input meeting. This is our 6th meeting of the year. As you know, we've been engaging our parents and staff from the beginning of the year in preparation for the next 3-year LCAP cycle. As Dr. Volker suggested or commented on, that cycle has been pushed off to December. So we got a little bit more time to gather more input and feedback on what programs and services are important to our stakeholders to make sure that is included in our budget. We want to share this slide here. We have much more to say about LCAP, but we wanted to set the stage to say, you'll see at the top left that we have a projected full total school budget in 2021 of $742 million. And then there's some dollars there that we want to talk about. So if you look down at the bottom, base services, the reason I want to go over this real briefly is to show you the position or the relationship between the different kinds of money that the district receives to support student success. And you look down at the bottom in the gray area, base services. This is what we generally refer to as our general fund budget. It's well over close to $378 million. And it funds all the teachers that you see, custodial, administrators, transportation, in addition to all of our special education teachers that you see, utilities, insurance, secretarial staff, all that kind of stuff. So the point is that all students walking into our district get these services that come out of our base fund or our general fund of $378 million. And then on top of that, the state has allocated what is called supplemental and concentration grant. It's calculated off the base, and this allows us to provide services and programs to students above and beyond the base. So all kids receive base dollars, or supported by are supported by base dollars, and then our supplemental and concentration grants allow us to provide services above and beyond the base. And that's where you'll see tutoring and program supports and extra counselors and sometimes vendors, professional development for teachers, extra duty hours to support students, after hours and enrichment activities and so on and so forth. And then on top of that is what we call our restricted dollars. These are federal categorical dollars that we receive, close to a little under $38 million in total. And those are through our title money, so Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV. And those are what we call restricted dollars. Those are our most restricted dollars. And those dollars are very, very clear on how we can spend those dollars. And those dollars have to be spent, again, above and beyond the base. And so all kids get base services. Most kids will get supplemental concentration, and then a little fewer kids will get Title I. So you add those supports up for kids, and that all equals student success. So just wanted to review, where does the supplemental concentration, or what is generally called the LCAP budget, but there is no LCAP budget, it's actually supplemental concentration dollars, and where that sits in relationship to the base services and federal supports. Next slide, please. I wanted to show this too. You should all be familiar with that. So the very first thing we want to discuss is that the supplemental and concentration dollars are calculated on the base, and because our base or our general fund is being projected to be reduced by the state due to COVID and the impact that COVID has had on state revenue, we're projecting that our supplemental and concentration dollars will be reduced by close to $11 million, from 139 million to 128 million. And so we've been able to make substantial cuts to deliver that projection and stay within the projection of 128. Happy to report that we've been able to make those cuts away from classrooms as much as possible. We've not reduced any services to our EL students, our foster youth, or our low-income students. We've been able also to include some key services that we've been able to provide, and most of the cuts came out of kind of centralized services and programs, which will have an impact, but we think that we can weather the impact. If you look over to the right, you'll see this 2 circles, and this is how we engage. You see the inner circle is really schools. And so our parents, of course, we don't have kids that attend the district office. We have kids attending schools. And so we want the lion's share of our feedback is coming from schools, and input is coming from schools. And so our principals engage their parent advisory groups, their students, their school's community, and staff 3 times a year to get feedback. You'll see on the right-hand side of the circle where you see principals, and those arrows are going back and forth because the data that the principals are gathering from their staff and stakeholders then feed into the data and feedback and input that we're getting from the district level. And then at the district level, we engage district level systems 3 times a year as well, through our through our governance and advisory committees in these circles, and they continue to inform one another. And that is how we develop the supplemental and concentration dollars. Next slide, please. And so the state has kind of eight statewide goals as it relates to supplemental and concentration funding. We've collapsed those goals into 3 goals. This will be the 6th year we've had these goals. Of course, our largest goal is, and we spend a little over 128 million on these goals. In addition to the base fund, goal one is improving academic outcomes. And I'm sure we all agree that this is our biggest priority in a school district, is making sure our kids leave our system college and career ready. Goal 2, we know that contextually, the San Bernardino city as itself, our parents and staff, we have to pay a lot of attention to our school cultures, our school climates, to make sure they're safe learning and inviting classroom environments. So we spend a lot of dollars around that. And then, of course, lastly, improving family and community engagement. We want our parents and our students to feel engaged and listened to, and making sure that we're engaging them and teaching parents, or providing opportunities for parents to learn the things that they want to learn, that they believe will help create success among their children. So those are the 3 goals that we're after with Supplemental and Concentration Grant. You'll see that our presentation today is organized around these 3 goals. You'll also notice that the feedback and input that we're asking you to provide are commensurate with these goals as well. And so today's discussion and all the input that we're asking you is around these 3 goals to give us feedback on what programs and services you as stakeholders would like to see. We've done a survey of our school leaders, and we have that data around these goals as well. We've also done a survey of our teachers, and we've gotten their feedback and input, because as you know, school staffs are also a stakeholder group in LCAP, and we've engaged them already, and we've engaged our directors and our district level governance and advisory committees. And so again, this is the 6th meeting for LCAP this year, and we want to continue to gain input from you all today. So next slide, please. And so I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Connick, our Director of Categorical Programs. He'll talk about the results to date of some of our surveys. So, Mr. Connick.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to share with the board, the cabinet, and in particular our community where we are with our LCAP process. And I want to really reiterate that it is a process that is an ongoing continuation that we use to build upon from one meeting to the next. What Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Perez had alluded to about our survey, what you're looking at on this screen here is a snapshot of the current survey that was released last week. And to date, as of yesterday, as of Monday, we had 495 surveys that we received comment from, and this crosses staff and community members, classified, certificated, administrator, community, and parents. It's across the board. And it's a 2-part survey. So there's a part of the survey that shows a kind of a snapshot, if you will, on the 5 priority areas that are of key interest to the stakeholder. And what you see before you in order of the number of responses are what's trending right now. And again, I want to use that word trending because this is not a one and done survey. This survey is ongoing. It's still open and continuously receiving input from our stakeholders. But you can see that before and after school programs, otherwise known as CAPS, technology is a critical piece, especially in this COVID situation. We're seeing just how pivotal technology is. Mental health and responsive services, huge area that the district is undertaking to ensure that not only our students are served, but also our community, our parents. Classroom supplies and instructional materials to ensure that our kids, our students, receive the information necessary to achieve. And then safety. Safety was trending at the 5th spot right now to ensure that our kids are safe and our community within our community. The next part of the survey is more of a narrative piece. And this goes a little deeper than just a superficial identifying. So here we asked our stakeholders to provide input on continuous and improved services for our English learners, our foster youth, and our low-income students on what is currently being done or what can continue to be done or should be started, if you will, to meet our goals that Dr. Mitchell had delineated with Goal 1, academics, Goal 2, the school climate, and goal 3 being related to student and family engagement. Next slide, Dave.
I had a question really quickly on that one, and I put it back. I had put a comment in there, but I guess it wasn't seen. So with regards to the top 5 areas, when you see those responses, so how many surveys, you said 495 surveys, out of 495 surveys, these were the responses. Now I know were they written in, or was it bubbled in? How were people able to respond to these specific questions?
Thank you, Ms. Medina. That's a great question. These were the top 5 priority areas. We had delineated a kind of a list of current LCAP priority areas that we are undertaking, and then asked them, our stakeholders, to basically identify their top 5 areas, but there was also a space for them to comment on something that was missing. So it was, I'm sorry, please.
Yeah, so okay, so then it wasn't necessarily where they were able to add new items, but just, you know, from what was already inputted there, they kind of set it by priority, and then if they wanted to add additional comments, then they could add it at the bottom, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Abigail, so also you're absolutely right with that one. And in the bottom part was narrative response. So the top part of the survey was pre-filled, and then had an opportunity to put other, but the bottom was free-form narrative. So they were able to comment with sentences or whatever they wanted to say around goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. So it's both.
Okay, and then also, is there also a way, so I know that we have staff, community members that were also, you know, submitted this. What is a percentage of parents? What is a percentage of community members, students? Is that something that you were able to gather?
Yeah, we can gather that. Be happy to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, that's helpful, because then I also will be able to see, because I know we've been to meetings. This one, of course, is written form, but we've been to meetings where there's been complaints. There's only a few parents, a few students versus a lot more staff. And so that would be good for us to see as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide.
I also have a question. This is Dr. Flores. Dr. Mitchell and Mr. Connick, I would like to see the disaggregation, like referring to what Ms. Medina said, which staff submitted and what the percentages were versus community members and parents. And secondly, I would like, since we're still gathering data, I don't think the parents know where they can access the survey. And I believe it's also in Spanish, correct?
Yes,
ma'am. It is in Spanish. It is on our website, and we will repost it today at the end of the meeting.
Okay, so where can the parents find it? When I go to our website, it's really hard to find everything. So I'm not sure where do you put that?
Well, go ahead, Terry.
Oh, the survey was released on the flyer that advertised today's meeting, but it is at spcusd.com/LCAP survey. And it is in Spanish and English in both. But as Dr. Mitchell said, Dr. Flores, we will be posting that at the end of this meeting as well.
Okay, so, and how long will it be up so that parents can provide the input?
We'll leave it up at least 2 weeks.
Only 2 weeks? Okay.
Or longer. There's really no end to us collecting data. So we'll continue. But we like to, so we'll leave it up as long as
Yeah, I would recommend that we leave it up, and then that way we can, as parents, get to know that it's up, they can access it and so forth, so they can fill it out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next slide.
This slide is demonstrating the expenditures associated with Goal 1 academic achievement. One quick reference to point out is of the $128.5 million that's dedicated to Supplemental Concentration Fund, this one here, $80 million, has a large lion's share, as it does impact academic achievement. However, also to point out, these areas of expenditures also will have secondary or ripple benefits in the other goals as well. So I don't want to box these activities or expenditures that they only impact academic achievement. That would be their main impact, but these will also impact our goals 2 and 3. But just as a quick overview, you can see that in that $40 million expenditure range, there's a lot of staff and direct service support to our students. We are looking at principally benefiting our foster youth, our English learner, and our low-income students. In accountability and educational technology really helps us with our performance management. Our progress monitoring is what we're doing what we'd hope it to do. We also have in our continuous improvement, targeted support for progress, school progress, our MTSS, our special education curriculum support within that is at $1 million. So we're really looking to provide supplemental support for our greatest needs students. In addition, our educational services with our professional development focus clearly really backs the theory of action that we have, that building and our capacity of our staff will better ensure that our students are achieving at their highest levels. And then we have ongoing staff support with a variety of programs from intensive instruction to transportation, cadet corps, and so forth, that really, again, benefits our English learner, foster youth, and low-income students. Next slide, please.
We're just giving an overview here of what our key instructional initiatives are behind those dollars you just saw. So we're spending a lot of time and energy and dollars around making our staffs better, building the capacity of our teachers. We believe our theory of action is providing a high quality classroom teacher in every classroom in the district and providing a high quality leader at every one of our schools is a key lever in improving outcomes for our students. So we're spending a lot of time around professional learning plans that really drive what we expect teachers to learn and be able to do at high levels to foster improved outcomes for our students. Standards, aligned scope, and sequences. We also are spending a lot of dollars on helping teachers to learn from each other around professional collaboration and lesson study and instructional rounds. Of course, spending dollars on textbooks, supplemental materials, so that our kids see the best materials, the highest quality materials to aid them in their learning. And then, of course, spending a lot of dollars on giving high quality feedback to teachers to hone their craft and to strengthen their craft in the classroom. And then performance management is around performance tasks, formative feedback, assessment systems, so that we know that our systems are impacting student learning. I see a question from Dr. Flores.
Yes, I'm wondering, can you go back to the back slide where all the
Previous slide.
items, yeah, that one, right? So under the topic area is the 7.4 million for English learner, Latino achievement directly for English learners?
That's a portion of it. You'll see English learners throughout. You'll see it also at the bottom, ongoing staff support for EL, FY, low income. So it's throughout. Imagine these are hundreds of lines of expenditure data, and we're really just summarizing, collapsing, because we could spend a significant amount of time around this area. So these are very general and topical, but to answer your question, yes, these are dollars associated with English learners. Within that is the 1.7 for the Latino student achievement.
Mm-hmm. So out of that 7.4, so minus the 7.7, 1.7 million for Latino achievement. So
on this line item, you look down to bottom, yeah, 19, there's 19 million.
That goes to English learners.
19 million, a lot of that goes to English learners. And then not only that, your federal support, you'll see too that this 36 million also supports EL. That's embedded in the 36 million. So we'd have to unpack this if you wanted, and I'm happy to do that, Dr. Flores.
Okay, later I would like to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think this was the appropriate forum for that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I just was questioning because I want to clarify that for the public.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide. Next slide. So here is we're coming to a portion, and we'll ask. We'll ask who we have on this one.
Yeah, I think you wanted me to take this on for our first
I
goal.
want to read this piece. So
You guys, pardon? You ready?
go ahead,
Keenan?
John.
Yeah, okay. This is the first time that we're going to actually gather some input here at today's meeting. And we're going to focus on what we just heard on the academic achievement and the various goals, the goals underneath each one of those and activities underneath each one of those that we just reviewed. So this is going to be using the menti.com portal to actually, you're going to enter data, whatever you want to enter, keep it clean. And we're going to answer the question, what do you recommend to improve academic achievement? So we practiced it a little bit ago, and you kind of just tapped on an answer. But this one, you will actually enter in anything you'd like, in whatever words you want to use to communicate what you'd like to see to improve academic achievement. So why don't you grab your phones and or whatever device that you're on, and we can go to the menti.com site, and the question will come up. You'll see it with a little photo, and I'll kind of show it to the camera. You'll kind of see what it looks like on my phone, at least. And oh, you got it right here. And so we can answer the questions right here. It's in both English and Spanish, and feel free to use whatever language you feel comfortable with. And so let's enter the data now. And you're going to see it displayed in real time. Is that right? Is that right? Yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna enter something here.
So if we enter ourselves a comment,
Yep.
if we enter our comment, then can we see it as well?
Yes. You'll see the comments. These are the comments that are being entered now. They're scrolling down. And of course, board, we won't take the time to analyze these comments, but what staff will do is collect all these comments and bring them back to the board, force rank, so that you can see all of the comments, but also where there was redundancy in the comments, so that the board, the point here is that the board gathers live data around our 3 goals, and we will bring these back to the board to be used as you go into budget adoption for the LCAP.
My only thing is that if we were to have this in person, we would actually have opportunity for discussion on maybe some of the points. And so what I don't want to do is just go really quickly without at least glancing over some of these and maybe having a couple of questions regarding this, because then it becomes our meeting and not necessarily they give their input, which is great, but we're not having that interaction of responding. So as you're scrolling up, I'm seeing a few comments that they submitted that I would like to look at. So what I'll just do for my personal preference, I'll make a comment so I can review all those comments at the same time. And if I have any questions, I'll go ahead and text that have a question.
Okay.
And Mrs. Rosales Medina, we actually are providing the time that the board needs to digest and respond. We talked about this through yesterday as we were planning. The intent is that you are able to take a look at them and comment on any of the comments that you see there at the board's leisure. We don't have the capability of hearing live voices from our audience, and so this is the mechanism that we have available to capture and allow for them to share their voices with all of you.
And I think that's what's also, when I've seen other board meetings going around, which, you know, I don't know how they do it with time limitations, but even during school board comments, you hear them live. And so I don't know if that's something that we can look into, especially in these kind of meetings where we want to hear their voices, very different from actually just reading it. And so maybe as a next LCAP meeting, to look at what other districts are doing to create, you know, more voice or have a voice at the board meetings or at this kind of meetings.
I have a comment too. I agree with Ms. Medina. I think that we need to hear, I mean, this is a good beginning. We need to hear our parents' voices and so forth. And I know through thought exchange, we could put some of these up and then people could come up, you know, put priorities in terms of which is their priorities or which ones resonate with them. But I don't know how we could have, you know, people queued up to speak. I know that in the delegate assembly meeting for CSBA, we were able to be queued up to speak. Not everybody would get to speak, but whoever, you know, requested and got selected to be queued up, we would have some voices heard, Ms. Medina, but I agree with you. Thank you.
So thanks so much for that feedback. We know the challenges and limitations to a virtual meeting, and so we have been searching several methodologies to do this as meaningful as possible. And so what I do want to show you, see that there's 70 comments, and so in the time we have, there are some challenges and limitations to the platform we're using, but we want to assure the board the purpose in collecting this is to bring all these back to you for the board's consideration. We'll make sense of this, of the data that we're getting. We'll group it in ways that's reasonable, so that the board can have a really scientific methodology to look at the feedback that you're getting, and then to be assured that the fingerprint of the feedback we're receiving is reflected in the budget and expenditures.
Yeah, and Keenan, we'd done this before in a couple of other feedback sessions where we actually ensured that we captured each one of the comments as they were provided. This is a good documentation methodology, so I'd like to actually see this captured just in its current form, and then we can go through and synthesize to kind of characterize them in various categories and stuff, and then kind of see where most of the folks are seeing they'd like to have their efforts done. So it honors, I think this process does honor people's direct input, whereas I know that some of the in-person meetings, you kind of paraphrase and write things on a board that aren't captured exactly the way people want to see it. So I really like the methodology of capturing this. And the fact, let me ask you a question. Are we going to keep these questions open where people are able to spend a bit more time in crafting a response to this on the website as well?
Yeah, so this format, as well as the survey that's been out, we're going to continue to let those go. Yeah. And thank you, Mr. Gallo, for those comments. We will provide the raw data as well as a sense making of the data so that you can see exactly what people are putting in, and then can see the difference between the raw and then how we interpret it. So thank you so much.
This is really good. And, I know it's always nice to be in person. I agree with our gang. But this is a pretty good way of really capturing some thoughtful input as well.
So thank you. We see we have 88 responses. Dr. Perez, any other last comments on this before we move on?
Sure. I just wanted to share that I put in the chat, I think the community can see that we will be downloading all of the responses in the way that you see them I agree, Mr. Gallo. It's very powerful for us to keep people's words intact the way they are. So we do sometimes lose that in a verbal conversation. So this way, everybody knows that exactly what they want it to convey is being conveyed. We will take that information, synthesize it, have some, categorizing of things so we can lift from that the major topics and themes and bring that back for our board and community to see.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to make sure the thing is that I was not able to see the comments. So for instance, I submitted a comment and I was not able to see anything. Is there any way at least for board members to on the side, for those that want to, while you're presenting, just review some of these as they're coming in live? Who gets access to this?
We have access, and if we could probably provide you a link to it, but then we're going to be, there's at least 3 more opportunities for this, Ms. Medina. So we can certainly give you that information. I don't know if you'd be able to engage in the meeting at the same time reviewing. This is, if you can imagine, there's 95 comments so far on this that's still going. I would love to give you this in a raw and have you an opportunity to review it.
Them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just letting you know that I'm not able to, as the person that submitted a comment, I'm not able to see the comments.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there. You see that we're scrolling down. It's in there. There's 96 comments. David, or whoever's running this, just scroll up just so she can see.
I think she's referring to on her own phone. Let me see.
Yeah, I submitted a comment on my own phone, yes.
Yeah, and she wants to see everybody's on her phone. So let me see how we might be able to accommodate for that, Mrs. Rosales Medina. I'll work on in the background to see how we can do that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So with that, we'll move on in the interest of time, and we'll keep this up as well. So we'll make sure that folks have access to that. So thank you, David. Next slide. We'll move on to goal 2, around school climate and campus environment. The goal of goal 2 is to increase and improve services for foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. And so you see here that one of the major costs that coming from here are elementary counselors. We're one of the few districts that still has elementary counselors. We think they're absolutely vital to the success of our students. And so we've made a commitment to continue to fund those. As you'll see, other issues around crossing guards, maintenance, magnet, and you'll also see here the 9.3 that that's currently coming out of the LCAP for our police department. You've heard Dr. Volker make a commitment that we're currently analyzing the department to see what expenditure that we can move over to the general fund. I want to be clear that removing this cost from the LCAP does not free LCAP, because what will happen is we'll move it to the general and we'll have to move some other stuff in the LCAP. But I do want to say that some of the services that our officers do, like they're participating in our restorative practices in the district. They're all trained in our SEL strategy to support our students. We have the cadet corps as part of our career pathway. They do a program of positive ticketing where they are acknowledging the positive behaviors of our students that's observed. They're also a key part of our youth court. And they also are very much a part of our bullying initiatives and our not bullying initiative, but anti-bullying initiatives. And so there are large portions of their work around restorative policing and contributing to the safety of our students and well-being of our students. And we'll continue to fund in LCAP and then move and split fund it to split fund between the general fund and LCAP. And we're making a commitment to have that done by August 2024. The next time we have an LCAP meeting in July, the next time we'll have an LCAP meeting after August, we will be able to share the changes to this dynamic. We wanted to make sure that you continue to see it here to be transparent, but we are moving that. And so with that being said, you see 40 million of the 128 million for supplemental concentration is on goal 2. And so with that, we'll go to the next slide and tee up Ms.
Before
Williams.
you move on, no, go back. Before you move on, I submitted for a question. So my concern is that I believe that we had a conversation when the attorneys came in, that the school police, I heard that you said that we have the Cadet Corps. I don't realize that the whole $9.3 million encompasses in this.
You're breaking.
So that is where I'm concerned, because we've had this conversation
Picking up,
before.
Ms. Medina.
Now, I'm sorry? Were you able to, I might.
He wasn't able to hear you. He wasn't able to hear you.
Okay, so I guess this basically goes in general with regards to the $9.3 million is the fact that we had this conversation, we had attorneys come down, we had made a suggestion. Now, if maybe the other board members didn't feel like it was necessary, but I know that a few board members were looking at how we can move this fund to another pocket of funding, because I know the whole category for the police department is 9.3. So then how is it, you know, it's too large of amount of money that's placed in the LCFF. It was for the Cadet Corps.
So Ms. Medina, we made a commitment then with the lawyers to split fund the amount. And I want to, if you're asking why it hasn't been done yet, it's because our budget is really fluid right now. We've been waiting on information from the state that will change the base and supplemental amounts. And so it's just only a matter of, this is only a matter of the time staff needs to analyze the expenditures out of the PD, taking in the information from the state and making those moves. And so we've committed to that. We've said that at the beginning of this meeting. We said it in other meetings that this number will change, Ms. Medina. So I don't want you to think that fell on deaf ears. There's still a lot of fluidity to the budget, and we just need to Dr. Volker's opening comments that the state we're waiting on some key information on June 15th to make some last decisions around our general fund and our supplemental, because the actual amounts will change. And then with that information, we will be able to make the changes that we committed to the board to split fund quickly.
Right, and then the actual amounts, and that there would be a great way to kind of show that in here on the form itself, indicating the actual amount is, you know, this amount. You said it was probably half, 4 million. Then I can ask questions on that one, $4 million. What does that look like? But since it's all in here and doesn't really specify that I mean, what is the actual amount then?
The actual amount is 9.3. If you're asking what the actual amount is after we split it, we're still working on that, Ms. Medina. And also too, it won't let's say that we cut it in half. It won't free up 4.5, because what we will do is take 4.5 million of general fund dollars and put it into the LCAP. So it's just a matter of moving money around, but the amount doesn't increase. The total amount doesn't increase. But
that's the conversation I want to have, is that how there could be a board member that makes a suggestion. How can we decrease this amount? What do we need to do? How can we move monies around if I can't even see the amount there?
We're not prepared to share that today, Ms. Medina. I'm sorry to say that. But soon, within a week or two, we will be able to.
We're able to see every other category, but we're not able to see that specific one. All right, thank you.
No. You're able to see exactly what we're spending on school police as it is funded now, similar to every other line item that you see. Right now, we are spending 13.7 on counselors, and right now we are spending 9.3 on school police out of LCAP.
Dr. Mitchell, this is Dr. Flores. What Ms. Medina, yes, I believe, is asking is for the disaggregated amounts and what specific line items are being spent on what. And as we move the amounts to the base, right, to the base budget, right, and not under LCAP, I personally too would like to see the disaggregated amounts and where, you know, what specific items are under each budget. That's
understood.
Right, Abigail? Yeah. Ms. Medina?
Understood. And all I was
saying, that's right. No, that's right. That's right. And that's the thing, is that I'm not able to see it. And how am I gonna, you know, we're having a conversation and communities having a conversation of what the funding really looks like. And you know, there should be line items already disaggregated that can help out with that. Thank you for clarifying it better, Dr. Flores.
So I appreciate that too. So I understand And so I'm gonna keep saying this, that we're working on it, and we will bring a recommendation with the full, so that you can see, but cabinet will bring a recommendation on how it should be, or how we think it should be split. And you'll be able to see the sub expenditures that makes up the 9.3. So I understand clearly what you're saying, and we're just not prepared to do that today.
Okay, and that's the request. So we just want to make sure that we're clear on that, because I spoke to Dr. Volker about that, and Ms. Medina, yes, you raised that again. That is the commitment that we've asked, so we can see the line item. I know it's been an ongoing question. So when we get to the final, analysis of everything, we have, if it's not there, it's going to be asked again. So we need to see it broken out.
Yes, we have. We understand. Thank you.
So are we just saying we want that for the police department, or are we looking for all of the other categories as well? If we're going to analyze a budget, we ought to be looking at every category.
Right, and that's the whole point.
Yeah, and I think that was raised before, Mr. Gallo. The one asking of the police department specifically, we had to bring it to a conclusion based on, the questions that came up when we brought in the attorneys to ensure that we're being transparent. But that question did come up prior to say, do we want to break down everything else to get those numbers aligned to where is it going? I mean, that's a valid question. And if that's what the board is asking, we need to give the direction to the district, so when they present it back to us in the final analysis, we have what we need.
Yeah, and this is this is trying to get priorities for expenditures, right? That's what this meeting is. This isn't our detailed budget analyses meeting. As far as I know, this is to gain input for where we would like to see expenditures made in our LCAP, and gathering community input for that input. Subject to as I called for, various budget hearings that would go through the details of our budgets, as we did back in 2012. When I was chair of the budget committee and vice president of the board, and Barbara Flores was president of the board, we did that and took a bit of time so that our entire community understood what was being funded and what those dollars were for the various activities and programs. And so this isn't that meeting. This is to solicit input from our community on where we would like to see expenditures made. So I'd imagine that we'll be having some other board meetings that would go down into a further level of detail on specifically budget reviews, as we embark on potentially figuring out where we need to make some reductions. That's as fluid as Dr. Mitchell said right now, but I'd imagine over the next few months, we'll be conducting those various budget reviews.
I would have to respectfully disagree.
And the community has been asking for that. That's why it's part of this conversation. It was part of previous conversations. So I think just ensuring that we know that is the biggest thing the community has raised right now as we move forward.
Right, but I just want to make sure that I address, so I would have to respectfully disagree. Back when I was a parent and I used to work with COPE, as parents, we were frustrated when we were given just general information with budgets. And a lot of times we forget that parents, or even community leaders, and that are also parents, that want to know more information. So when we would go to these LCAP meetings, I wasn't a board member then, you could see the frustration of those parents that actually were smart enough to want to have more information and weren't provided that. So I think this is also an opportunity for them to get the information. As many of you get text messages, I get calls, that people are frustrated because we give generic information. And I think this is an opportunity for us to just provide that for them, because I know parents are asking for it. So thank you.
President Roger, if I could chime in.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Board, great timing. Thank you so much for your comments. Just want to remind you that the next 3 Tuesdays, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th of June are all, we have board meetings, 2 regular and 1 special board meeting designed for the budget. Now, the 16th will share time with plans for reopening, but there is a budget presentation that will occur on the 16th, again on the 23rd, and then in terms of finalizing the budget for the 2020-21 school year. So we can bring back as much information or as little information as you want to dig deep as you'd like into all of the various aspects of our budget. That's what this is. That's what these extra meetings are designed for, so that we can meet your need in terms of when we get to June 30,
Right.
Approving a budget that you are comfortable with. I'll just share one extra consideration, and that is that August 15th date that we identified where the state could be doing some mid-year kind of adjustments is going to be an important one. But you'll remember that we have the dates in June, and then Dr. Perez and Mrs. Christakos are going to be leading ongoing budget talks and discussions throughout those next couple months to make sure that we're adopting budgets that you're comfortable with. So just wanted to make sure that you were reminded of that. Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
this is Dr. Flores. I'd like to make a comment.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to support what Mr. Gallo and Ms. Medina also said, that this is a time for everyone to put their input. So that's going to be the next, a slide that I think that we give is the menti.com, so that you can put your comments, all the comments regarding just the, of the needs or what you see right now for the LCAP expenditure. Then what is it that the parents, what is it that you want the money to be directed towards? And so that's what we need to do in our comments. That's why those comments are so important, because we as board members are going to look at them, and staff and cabinet's going to look at them, and we're going to have this dialogue of if we restructure the funding and where we put the money, and that's the purpose of having your input. So that's really, really important. Es muy importante que meten sus comentarios porque los vamos a usar. Y es la mesa directiva que va a analizarlos y también trabajar con el gabinete. Y por eso queremos es tener todo transparente. Okay, muchas gracias.
Hey, that tees us up very nicely for the next slide. So next slide, David. I think that Colleen, if you can go over what we're doing in mental health, and then we can get some feedback from our community, that would help. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Colleen Williams, Director of Student Wellness and Support Services. We wanted to introduce the idea of the comprehensive approach to mental health. So it's more than just mental health therapy, and wanted to provide some information there. We know that it's the responsibility of our U.S. school system to promote the mental health of all students, facilitate healthy development, improve daily function, and help our students reach their full potential. With nearly $20 million in district funding, with $14 million from LCAP funding dedicated to proactive and responsive mental health services. It is important to understand the comprehensive approach the district has taken in meeting mental health needs of our students. The image that you see has not been translated for the Spanish presentation, but will be for the final draft that's shared with everyone on the call today. You can see from that image, however, that it's a tiered approach. So we start with an effective workforce there at the bottom as the foundation to ensure that all of our students are supported by knowledgeable educators with their own sound social emotional health. And it is developed with increasing intensity, specialization, and cost as we scale from all students to smaller groups, and then supports for individuals as well. So that comprehensive approach, as you look at that graphic there, is a 3-tiered system. What we call universal is the blue, which we'll talk about first, and then targeted supports are the green, and then intensive supports are the orange. And it is on purpose going up into a smaller and smaller scale, because as we increase the intensity of the supports, we are hoping that the needs of students are met in the lower levels as we continue. Next slide, please. So when you look at the social emotional competencies that students, staff, and community members are developing as we are on the journey of life, we look at making sure that we're providing schools and school environments that give students safety, connection, and learning. So these are the tier 1 preventative and proactive mental health supports. The most proactive way to address mental health is to establish those welcoming, safe, and nurturing learning environments where we prioritize a sense of safety, where all students feel physically safe, emotionally and psychologically safe to ensure that we are utilizing our trauma-informed principles. We develop relationships and ensure community building to seek input from all of our stakeholders, including students at the smallest level, at one teacher and a classroom of students, making sure they have a sense of community within that entity, as well as the school environment, and then of course the district level. We provide strategies to engage students with peers and adults in the learning environment as well. This work is done through professional development and education of staff to ensure they incorporate the understanding of trauma's effects on the brain, support healing through the environments described above, and teach and reinforce with direct lessons of SEL and utilize those mindsets and practices of our positive behavior interventions and supports, which you may know as PBIS, and our restorative justice for student SEL development. All of these elements work together to develop social emotional competencies that support student success at school, in relationships, and in their future. Should students need more? Next slide, please, David. Should students need more than those tier 1 supports? We have a comprehensive approach to providing tier 2 early intervention and tier 3 intensive supports. You have some of those outlined on the screen now. Some students need those additional supports to be successful. To address their needs, we have a series of early interventions and supports that address targeted needs. While we fund our high school counselors out of general fund, we dedicate nearly $14 million to ensure that our elementaries and middle school students are receiving counseling services as well. Our counselors play a huge role in all 3 tiers, but they are the first level of responsive services in that green section of that pyramid. In this way, the district is designed to capture students at their earliest signs of need. And depending on the student need, interventions are specific to the need specific to that need, such as mentoring, skill development, and skill development could be coping strategies. It could be relationship strategies. It could be goal setting and organizational skills. And then our wellness resources as well. And then as we move through and intensify supports into that orange top of the pyramid, when few students are identified that need intensive mental health therapy, the district has several options. We have our in-district mental health supports. I know you're familiar with the HEART team out of the Student Wellness Department for our general education students. We also have ERMS, Educationally Related Mental Health Services, for our special education students who also need mental health therapy. We have community partnerships that are contracted through the Department of Behavioral Health to provide student and family therapy as different options from HEART or ERMS. And then we have our wellness wraparound supports to also ensure that if the need arises, we can employ those, because we know that there's a connection between physical health and mental health. So ensuring that we address all of those needs. Next slide, please. In looking at the last few slides and hearing the comprehensive approach to mental health, where we are focusing on the preventive and proactive measures, We want to ensure that we gain the community's insight and feedback about what we can do more and in addition. So you can see from our LCAP survey results there at the top of the slide that we have themes about campus cleanliness, safety, PBIS, emotional and cultural safety for our African American students, and then social emotional learning, professional development. So those are the results or the highlights coming out of the LCAP survey that we've referenced. And this is our opportunity to go to Menti again and provide some feedback about what you would recommend to improve our school environments and social emotional learning development for our students and our staff and community members. So give you a minute there, and then David will show us the slide with your responses. Appreciate that input coming in. I know that we'll continue to receive those insights, and we do have the capabilities to download these and connect them to see how frequently the same ideas are coming across. Appreciate that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there's a large contingency of mental health components being considered for the physically distant school. So we look forward to increasing that information for the board members as well as the community about addressing the mental health needs and concerns with students and staff in the stay-at-home orders, and then also the anxieties of coming back to physical school. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Colleen. Excellent. And we'll just give, it looks like there's still, let's just give another 30 seconds or so while this is up, David, just collects a few more of these so that the board can see what's coming in. Again, board, our commitment is to get you the raw data as well as this data analyzed and interpreted in terms of themes. So appreciate the community chiming in on this. This is an important issue for us to learn how we can better serve our students and staff.
I'll chime in here for a second, Dr. Mitchell. So in response to Ms. Rosales Medina's question, we are going to work on pulling all of these comments into a document that can be shared with the entire board. We will make that happen as quick as possible. There are people in the background right now getting that work started.
Okay, great. So with that, David, we'll keep pushing. Thank you for that, Dr. Perez. Dave, we'll go back to the PowerPoint. Thank you so much. Next slide, Terry, I'll go ahead and take this one as well. Slide, so goal 3, our last one, this is another 8.2 million of the 128 million. It really focuses on our parent, student, and community involvement and engagement. So you're seeing we're spending 2.4 on communications, another 1.4 on our community engagement plans. We have 2.1 that's primarily the staff that's at our high schools and our family engagement centers, and then the 1.5 around technology to help access the involvement and engagement that we're working through. So with a total being spent on goal 3 of 8.2, and then you'll see the bottom there that when we total goals 1, 2, and 3, goal 1 was academic achievement, goal 2 was safety and wellness, and goal 3 is the parent involvement. There's your 128 million in addition to the 36 million that we spend in Title 1, Title 2, 3, and 4 along those lines. And so with that, I'd like to have Lorraine talk a little bit about our parent engagement as we introduce her staff and getting some feedback from the community. Dr. Perez?
Sure, thank you. So David, we could jump to the next slide. I will pass this off to Beatriz in a moment, but just wanted to share that many of the things that you will hear her talk about are a reflection of the input that we have been gathering both formally and informally with our community. And as always, want to continue to encourage our families to share what their needs are. We will be responsive to the messages that we hear and quickly get into development and getting things out that are of need. So with that, I will turn it over to Beatriz to share a little bit more in detail some of the things that are currently taking place and things that we have in the queue for as we get ready to return to our school setting, physically distance or distance learning.
Thank you, Dr. Perez. Good morning, President Rogers, members of the board, members of cabinet, and community. I'm actually at the hospital. My son is having surgery, so I apologize for the feedback. But again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share today. My name is Beatriz Gonzalez. I'm honored to be the director of the Family Engagement Office. Our primary focus is to support our families and our community as a whole, and our vision is to engage all families at the school sites by building the capacity of teachers, of our parents, and our administrators. Studies show that students from low-income households have less parental involvement in the educational setting due to long work hours and the inability to take time off to meet with teachers, attend trainings, etc. So providing family engagement opportunities based on the needs of the school sites and the community are part of the LCAP Goal 3. So our goal is to use the supplemental concentration funds to support the needs of the 90% low-income students, families, and English learners in our community. So in order to meet our goal, during the summer specifically, we're continuing to build the capacity of teachers, parents, and administrators by offering many workshops in a virtual environment. These workshops are based on parent requests, the needs of school sites, and the community. I would like to start off by showcasing our collaboration with multiple departments. Our collaboration with elementary instruction has led to the creation of the distance learning resources website that you see right here on the right for parents and students to use throughout the year in the convenience of their homes. So these resources will come in handy during the summer, and our parents have been just excited about using them with their children. So our department is going to offer parent workshops to provide support with the actual navigation of the website and these resources that are available in both English and Spanish. Parents are excited to learn to navigate this website, knowing that it will give them and their children additional tools to use during the summer. I have gone into these resources with my own children as well, and they're amazing. And so we're very excited to support the parents with this process. We've also partnered with elementary instruction and preschool to create parent workshops to assist parents of children in pre-K to 3rd grade in setting up their early literacy footsteps to brilliance summer school program. Our collaboration with the enrollment department has led to the establishment of the Aries Parent Portal Workshops, which we are really encouraging and supporting our families to use for re-enrollment. We're continuing to collaborate with ACTA, the Equity and Targeted Student Achievement Department during the summer to reach out to our African American community. We're supporting Dr. Greer with our African American 9th grade scholars to ensure they encounter academic success. We are supporting the mindfulness work of Dr. Nikki Elliott by promoting and attending the sessions offered on Tuesdays and Saturdays. What I'm most proud of is the work Dr. Greer is doing to reestablish our site-based African American Parent Advisory Committees, or APACs, Our African American families need to be given a platform to be heard, and our department has supported these efforts and will continue to do so in the years to come. So the most recent collaboration is with the multilingual department. Next Wednesday, June 16th, we will have 2 special workshops with Imagine Learning that will support families with the summer contest that will encourage their children to read daily from a library of over 7,000 articles in English and Spanish. Last year, a student at Salinas Elementary won an iPad, so we encourage all families to participate. They also have a contest for math, so again, we encourage all families to participate. We will continue to support our community by providing additional workshops that have been graciously requested by our families, including but not limited to what you see here on the left. We have a technology workshop, which includes support with Google Platform and Chromebook. We partnered with Positive Youth Development and will be hosting bullying and attendance workshops over the summer. Valley College is going to support us with financial aid. Victor Community and Swiss continue to support us with mental health workshops. UCR and Cal State are anxiously waiting to support us with A through G workshops. So all these workshops, again, have been graciously requested by our families, and we are definitely making sure that their voices are being heard. So overall, during the summer, we are very busy serving our families and our community. Our main goal is to engage all families at the school sites by building the capacity of parents, teachers, and administrators. Our primary goal is to provide our community with family engagement opportunities based on the needs of the sites and the community as part of the LCAP Goal 3. So I'd like to end by stating that you may access all these workshops on our family engagement calendar by going to the San Bernardino City Unified School homepage and by clicking on the parents link on the top right-hand corner. You may also call our office for any support, any guidance. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to serve the community. There's so many things that are taking place. Our goal is to serve our families and our communities. So, just whatever is needed, whatever guidance and support, again, feel free to contact our office. We do have a live phone number that we're answering our calls to support everyone. So thank you. And I'd like to pass it to Dr. Flores to interact with the community through our interactive survey. So thank you.
Thank you, Beatriz.
Dr. Flores, I have a question. So with regards to, you said there was a live phone number, a live person answering the phone if they have any questions. Beatriz, is this something that is shared on the website? Where can parents access that phone number?
She must have gone off. Dr. Perez?
I will put that information into the chat, Mrs. Rosales Medina, so that you have it as well as our community is able to view that information as well.
Oh, okay. And yeah, because I know that there's been a few complaints only because some of the numbers that we have don't have a live person. It's more of messaging, even parents leaving messages. So I think it's great that they have someone that's live. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we made that commitment with family engagement in particular because of the work that they do.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
I want to, before I go forward, I want to commend Beatriz Gonzalez and her team because it's really a powerful amount of work that they're doing for the summer and also have been doing. And I think with the parents' input, we really need your input in terms of if all these offerings are working and any other ideas that you may have as well. So the next step is goal 3, family student engagement. So according to our LCAP survey results today, emerging themes include staff training for customer service involving parents, which I think is very good because our parents have personally told me that, sometimes staff are not very respectful to them, and that's not acceptable. We need to treat our parents as partners, and we need to develop our African American Parent Advisory Councils at schools. We really need to develop that, and so that our African American parents feel at home, and also that we want to connect with them. So the question is, what do you recommend to improve parent and family engagement? Okay, go to menti.com and put in the code 183235, and we will begin to get your comments. This is your opportunity. This isn't the only time, but just go ahead and put in your comments and your questions or your suggestions in terms of family engagement and how we can support you even further. Okay, thank you. Favor de poner sus sugerencias y sus comentarios. Gracias.
Oh, wow. That's a great comment.
Siguen con sus comentarios. Es muy importante que solamente no se queden como comentarios, pero que los usamos para desarrollar y apoyar a ustedes con prácticas concretas. I said it's not enough to just have your comments. We need to actualize them into concrete practices. And it's really important for this input and for our staff and also for the board, because we truly do believe in parent engagement and we believe in actualizing your input into practice.
Okay, we'll give a couple more minutes. Looks like we're getting a lot of folks coming in. So thank you, Barbara, for leading.
Yes. Ms. Rosales Medina and President Rogers, since you have worked with parents, what do you think?
I'm loving the comments. I mean, they're really getting down to the bare bone of the things that they need. And that's why this is so important to hear their voice. This is literally, they're telling us this is what we need.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I applaud the parents and I appreciate this very much.
I agree. And the whole point of this too is, when we work in meetings, when it comes to community input and parent engagement, we don't want to rush it. And I know that by you doing it, where you're sliding it down, it's automatically coming up. It gives us time to read it versus the first moment when it came up, it was just going back and forth. And we weren't able to read the comments. This gives us a little idea. And I appreciate the person who's managing it, and that it's letting us at least read it for a few minutes as we move to the next slide. But then again, I just want to make sure that we understand we don't want to rush these type of meetings. We want to make sure that it is, parents on the other end that are seeing this feel like they are being at least given that opportunity to being heard, right?
And Madam President, I want to ask Dr. Perez. I just got a text asking if everybody's going to be able to have access to see all these comments.
Oh, okay.
And I believe we are, right, on our website.
Yeah. Yes, we will do that. And I was thinking, and we'll work through this and plan it. But I was thinking if we could capture all of these and bring them back and have an opportunity even for folks to do what you described with thought exchange, where they're able to say, I agree with this comment, and weigh in on the comments that are given. So we're starting to hear a more collective voice and allow for themes to rise from the public comments.
I think there's software that we could put this in. I don't remember the name of it, where then themes are, or maybe Thought Exchange does that, where themes come up, right? They, from the specific to the general, and they name the themes, and then all the comments are put under those themes. That would be very helpful, I think.
I'm being told by our team, because they know this technology better than I do, I will admit, that that is possible within this program as well, that themes start to be identified based on the words used.
Okay, great. Okay, good. But they want to see the actual themes. I mean, the actual comments. So I think put those underneath the actual themes that arise, that emerge.
That is definitely possible and doable for us.
Okay, great.
So board, again, as we will collect this data, translate it, allow people to respond to it and create themes around it. So for not only your review and input and guidance, but also getting more information from our stakeholders on this. So we will develop a strategy very quickly and get this up and interactive with our community. So thank you for your input on this. We'll give another 30 seconds on this, David. Again, folks will still be able to contribute both on the other survey that we posted, plus this, and board, you'll have some richness to the feedback that you'll be able to analyze and use to make decisions going forward. I do want to echo Dr. Volker earlier, who said that that's purposely why this board has created so many board meetings going into the finish line, which is June 30, to give you the time to go deeper on things that you want to go deep on, and get us to the finish line on the 30th. So we'll go another 10 seconds on this, David.
And just a reminder to the community too, because we do have, a strategic plan for our parents and families, but this can give us revised information, and definitely we will be answering these questions through our strategies.
Right. It also serves another purpose too, because we have to report to the state how we're doing on our LCAP goals. This gives us feedback as well. So this is serving multiple purposes, and so we're happy that this is going well, and we're happy that our community is using the technology that we have today. So this is great. So David, why don't you transition us back to the PowerPoint? Thank you so much. Next slide. And so Lorraine and I would like, this is a time for just general stuff, overall questions. We want to reiterate our commitment to two commitments to bring back a kind of a broken down recommendation to move portions of the police department funding to our general fund. We will do that by the next board meeting. We've also made a commitment to share all this raw data that we've collected today, as well as the survey that we've been collecting for the past week, providing the raw data to both the board and the community, as well as interpreted data to the board and the community on themes that emerge as a result of this narrative data. And then this is an opportunity just to give general questions, comments, thoughts. Lorraine, you want to share anything here?
Dr. Mitchell, I think you covered it. This is, just the opportunity for more feedback. But I do want to point out the lower right side, it says for additional feedback, it gives you the LCAP survey. This is what we were referring to earlier that Terry Connick shared and Dr. Mitchell alluded to. This is the link or the URL for that survey. It is still open. We would love for folks to continue to take that survey and provide more information for us around the 3 goals and the questions that surround those 3 goals. So please know that that is the link to the survey, the Google survey.
Good, thank you. So again, at this time, we want you to go to menti.com, and this is an opportunity just to give general feedback to your district around anything you're seeing or want to see more of or like, some things you're concerned about, questions that are still lingering on any topic related to what we've talked today, or if something came to you later, it's an opportunity to do that. We will provide the same analysis that we've committed to earlier. So let's take about 2 minutes here, and if the community wants to comment, we would love to have your comments. Thank you. David, does this mean we're not getting any, or you're just waiting? Okay. Okay. We've not received any questions. We'll give another minute.
We do have a question from Dr. Hill, maybe that in the meantime.
Yeah, Dr. Hill, please.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really don't have a question. I just want to take this time to make my comments, if you don't mind, or if I need to wait until you're completely.
We just have 2 more slides, Dr. Hill.
Okay,
so-
no. All right, I will certainly wait. I'll wait until you finish before my comments.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dr. Hill. So we'll close this out, David, unless you're seeing something. Oh, one other thing too. I'd like to go to Karen. Would you like to share any public comment, please?
Yes, I do have a few. One actually was a question, so I'd like to read that one first. It's from Devonna Robertson, and she just said she would like to hear more about the funds for African American students. I didn't know if you wanted to address any of that before I move on just to the comments.
Yeah, why don't you keep moving, and then I have that in my notes, and so
Okay, I'll go ahead and read the rest of them. I think I have like 5 more.
Got it.
The first one is from Alexander Gomez, and he's an advocate for San Bernardino City Unified School District students. And he says, what is the role of school resource officers in the context of the educational mission of schools? With the mere presence of police officers in school, the likelihood that a student will be referred to law enforcement for adolescent behavior will increase. Police officers stationed in Chicago public schools operate with little oversight, accountability, and specialized training, a practice that puts children at risk of being funneled into the criminal justice system, according to a report by the Shriver Center on Poverty Law. More police in our schools do not necessarily enhance school safety. In fact, over-reliance on law enforcement to handle routine school disciplinary matters has resulted in a school-to-prison pipeline. School resource officers are not required to undergo specialized training for interacting with children. Moreover, SROs currently operate within CPS with little oversight or accountability for their actions. Instead of incarcerating our children, we should ensure that they have a quality education where we open doors of opportunity for them and correcting adolescent behavior with restorative justice practices. Okay, then I have one from Sarah Martin. She's a parent. I want to make sure the district continues to fund the arts. My kids are in the 4th and 7th grades and both are enrolled in band. They have been through a lot with COVID and so much has been taken away from them already. Band is the only class that they enjoy and gives them a reason to keep trying in school. Even in distance learning, they have learned a lot in their band classes, and I've been impressed with how much their teachers were able to get through to them from a distance. It seems that in difficult times, the arts are often first on the chopping block. But in these times of social isolation, it's been a way for my kids to connect to others and feel that they belong. In my opinion, the arts are essential as any other subject, especially in these difficult times when kids need an outlet to express themselves. Okay, and I have one from Lizzie Rios. And she's just making a quick comment because she had to go to attend another meeting. She says, I love the new public comment feature and is looking forward to seeing the recording later. Great job.
Well, thank you, Karen. And as we do with all of our public comments board, we have a record of that, and cabinet sits down and discusses who's going to address that and how it might happen. So Dr. Volker, we'll do the same thing with these public comments, if that's okay with you.
Dr. Mitchell, I'm sorry, I have 2 more to read, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Sorry about that.
That's okay, just 2 more. Okay, this one's from Teresa. And she says, honestly, a disappointment of a meeting. We have no way to test those surveys. It is totally difficult to deliver the pages for comments. in addition to not offering previous information. This presentation cannot be approved. There is no way to make sure about the participation of parents and community. It is totally irrelevant. It is seen as an imposition as well as not offering concrete and legal answers on the diversion of the $9.5 million of the exclusive funds for English learners, foster children, and free lunch. Those documents need to be sent to us for more careful review and additional time for our questions to be answered. Otherwise, the meeting and information presented will be no more than an unacceptable imposition on parents and the community. And my last one is from Keisha McGee. Excuse me. We bring the concern of our community in hopes to work together to make this right, to fulfill LCFF promise to all of our low-income English language learners, African-American students, and foster youth, as well as to reach the true intent of resource allocations in our LCAP. We are deeply concerned that the San Bernardino City Unified School District has misused very much needed funding for direct services to students and families, and instead use this funding for school district, police departments, and operations. We strongly believe that funding for police and security should not exceed funding for real school climate reforms, including restorative practices, counselors, school-wide positive behavior interventions, and supports, and social emotional learning. And Dr. Mitchell, I have one more that just came in. If you can just give me a second to bring it up, I'll read it.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, this is from Deidre Howard. And, okay, as a parent of a student in the district, I feel it would be best for these kids to not return. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take this one off because this is not related to this meeting, and we'll bring it back at the next board meeting, okay?
Perfect, thanks so much.
Thank you.
David, I understand you got some questions on Minty. Pop that back up so we can take a look at those. Not necessarily to address them, but we'll at least have the board see what came through on Minty. Thank you.
Dr. Mitchell, unfortunately, I have not received any questions through Minty.
Okay.
David, can you refresh, please?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, refreshing right now. Oh, we do have some. Okay, finally came through. Okay, sorry about that. Hold on one second. I'm popping the right back up.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So what happened to the board? You can just scroll down so we can see them all. Are there 31 comments or 31 lines?
30.
Okay.
I'm
all right,
trying.
so we'll have to.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, we'll have to download these.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Just kind of just roll through and just give us a sense. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Keep going. Okay. Got it. Great questions. Okay. Good questions there. So a lot of folks thinking about reopening. I know. Got it. Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Someone needs to mute